40 miles north of Detroit in sleepy Oxford Township. Something that felt impossible for a place like that happened. An active shooter at Oxford High. Phones lit up, kids ran screaming, and by the end of a single school lunch period, 4 students were dead and 7 more badly hurt.
My name is Ethan Crumbly, aged 15, and I'm going to be an next school shooter. I thought about this a lot. I can't stop thinking about it. Like, it's constantly in my head. Every conversation I have with someone, no matter what, I'm thinking about it and I can't get it out. It's currently November 29th, 2021, 10:05 p.m. The school I'm shooting up is Oxford High School. I'm in 10th grade there. I've always been fascinated by guns when I was a kid. I always wanted to join the forces and SWAT when I was in 3rd grade. Navy SEALs when I was in 4th. Marines, 5th or 7th. Army, Rangers. And I've never thought of a career. I've never had motivation. I kept lying to myself that.
The town that hosts scarecrow contests and weekend football games found itself on every news feed, and the person who did it was a 15-year-old sophomore named Ethan Crumbly. Ethan Crumbly was described as quiet, reclusive, and increasingly strange. He moved a lot as a kid. Born in Florida, lived in Washington, then settled in Oxford, and never seemed to anchor with friends. Parents James and Jennifer worked and drank. Neighbours said Ethan was often left to fend for himself, sometimes overnight without a phone. He loved violent movies and first-person shooter games from a young age, kept to himself, and generated a pattern of worrying behaviour. Isolation, declining grades, dark texts to a close friend, and disturbing drawings. Those details set the scene. A lonely, deeply unhappy teenager with clear warning signs and parents who didn't intervene. The immediate lead-up was painfully clear. In late November 2021, teachers discovered Ethan's notebook drawings. A gun aimed at words like, "The thoughts won't stop," scribbles of blood everywhere, and the crossed-out phrase, "Help me." School officials called his parents and urged counselling within 48 hours. Instead of taking him home or removing him from school, his parents did not follow through. Worse, 2 days earlier, Ethan had been given the handgun he'd asked for. Jennifer and Ethan had gone to a local shooting range for his birthday, put more than 100 rounds through a 9mm pistol, and then brought the gun home. There was no safe to store it in. Those 2 facts, the drawings and the firearm, are the ignition point for what came next. Pieces of Ethan's life pointed to escalating danger, and some details that seemed like attention-seeking only in hindsight were ominous clues. He confessed in text to killing and torturing baby birds, even keeping a bird's head in a jar and later bringing it to school and leaving it in a bathroom, an act that traumatized students. He told a friend increasingly violent fantasies and wrote journal pages with checklists for the day of the attack. He texted his mother about the house being haunted, complaining the strange events happened only when he was alone, which could be seen as cries for attention. At the same time, some reactions, jokes between teenagers, or the theory that his messages were edgy, teen posturing, acted as red herrings that distracted adults from the real risk. Suspense builds because Ethan wasn't impulsive in the moment, he planned. Police found a 22-page journal in his abandoned backpack with a checklist for the shooting day, notes about surrendering to police, and passages like, "I wonder what life in prison will be like." He recorded a voice memo the night before, saying he couldn't stop thinking about shooting the school and outlining how he intended to walk into the hallway and fire.
The bell rings to end 5th hour. Tomorrow, October 30th, November 30th, 2021, going to walk to the dividend between the boys and the girls' bathroom. will have my fire jacket on, and I will walk behind someone, and I will shoot a bullet in their skull, and that's my first victim. I'm going to open fire on everyone in that hallway. The hallways are too jam-packed. I will try and hit as many people as I can. I will reload, and I will find people hiding. I'm going to teach them a lesson. I understand that I'm going to prison for this. Michigan doesn't have a death penalty. I don't want to die. As funny as it may seem, I don't want to kill other people. I do not want to die. I realize how valuable life is. And I realized I broke the code of what's happening. I broke the code. I realized what is actually happening. And these people, they don't have the capabilities of understanding it. So I'm going to teach the entire nation and the world of what's happening and how we're on the brink of downfall.
School officials had been warned, his parents had been contacted, and yet the gun was at home and then on his person the day of. On November 30th, 2021, around lunchtime, surveillance captured Ethan walking into a bathroom with a backpack. 1 minute later, he walked out armed and began firing down the hallway. The real gutting twist to this whole story isn't a plot reveal so much as the realization that multiple adult systems failed at once. Teachers raised alarms. The school demanded counselling, or CPS would be called if the parents didn't act. Neighbours were aware the boy was often unattended, and yet the parents brushed it off and bought him the gun he asked for. The twist reframes the crime from a lone actor tragedy into a preventable catastrophe driven by parental neglect, missed interventions, and willful inaction. That truth shaped the criminal cases that followed, not only Ethan's, but his parents' legal exposure for manslaughter. The shooting itself unfolded in roughly 5 minutes. Ethan moved through halls and bathrooms, firing at students and through doors. Staff and students activated Alice drills: alert, lockdown, inform, counter, evacuate, which saved many lives but not all. 4 students were killed: Madison Baldwin, 17, Tate Meyer, 16, Hannah, often listed as Hannah or Juliana depending on reports, and Justin Schilling, 17, who later died at a hospital. 7 more were injured. Officers arrived quickly. After a short pursuit through the school, Ethan surrendered. He still had a loaded 9mm, 2 magazines, and dozens of rounds. The physical carnage and the short timeline make the climax brutally stark. A handful of minutes that irrevocably changed several families and the whole community. What followed was legal reckoning and community grief. Investigators used the journal, recordings, school footage, and physical evidence to build a case. Ethan ultimately pleaded guilty to all charges, 24 counts including first-degree murder and terrorism, and withdrew an insanity defense, opting to serve life in prison.
You may proceed.
I'd like to thank you for letting me speak, Your Honor. We are all here because of me today. What I did. My actions were because of what I chose to do. I could not stop myself, but I am the one who led to why we are here today. I do not diminish any ability to anyone who could have stopped me, of anyone of a school or parents. They did not know, and I did not tell them what I planned to do, so they are not at fault.
Public outrage extended to his parents. They faced involuntary manslaughter charges for negligently providing access to the gun and ignoring warning signs. Jennifer and James Crumbley briefly fled, were captured, and later pleaded not guilty. Their legal battles and appeals continued amid widespread condemnation. The sentencing occurred on April 9th, 2024. James Crumbley and Jennifer Crumbley were each sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison, with eligibility for parole after 10 years. The families of the victims, students remembered for courage, kindness, humour and selflessness, became the centre of memorials, testimony, and a renewed discussion about how schools, communities and parents should respond to clear danger signs.